Okay, good evening. Good evening and welcome to another evening of Liberty TV Live. This is Karen Francis. I am the UIC VP for Cornwall. And today I have with me Chase Neal. He's the VP for Middlesex for UIC as well. And welcome, Chase. Thank you for jumping on board again. This is the second time. We first had a chat when you were initially nominated for the seat. So welcome back.
All right, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. So I want to, before I actually jump into we're going to be talking a little bit about what's been going on in the schools in terms of, violence. There seems to be some activities in the school a little beyond what we're used to back in the days in terms of what bullying is. And it's gone to a level now where, students have been severely injured or even killed at times in this environment. But before I go there, I wanted to reflect upon something that the UIC did yesterday, where they hosted a memorial of, or more or less what the anniversary of when Mr. Patterson was arrested for the march to, make sure that COVID mandates were not mandated and demanded by the Jamaicans. And so what was shared there was pretty disturbing in terms of the circumstances under which Mr. Patterson was arrested, the way he was treated after he was and during his arrest, the condition of the jail, and then really what was also heartbreaking was when Mrs. Patterson was explaining how her attempts to try to get food to him, how the police officers were behaving and laughing at her and those types of things. What's going on? Why is this? What's happening? How do our police behave in this way? Where do they get their training? And help us to understand a little bit about that first and foremost.
All right, so we should bear in mind why the police force was, the constabulary force was started in the first place. The constabulary force was started to bring the uprisings of the emancipated, or let me say emancipated in quotations, Black people under control. So the Morant Bay riots and so forth, led by Paul Bogle and others, the constabulary force was created to really suppress us fighting for our rights. And this is what we see. This is just a repetition of history. And so the British colonizers at the time, they chose a particular pattern of constabulary to base the JCF off. It was the Irish Royal Ulster Constabulary, which is actually a paramilitary force, not a police service as what is used in London and the other parts of Britain. So from the inception, yes, Jamaica Constabulary Force was meant to be a soldier-like, a military-like force that they say are policing the citizens, which really means protecting the interests of the colonizers. So it was based on that, and it continues to be based on that model. Police officers are trained to be, even the Jamaica Constabulary Act does state that the JCF is partially under military law. So we have a police force that is not civilian focused, it is not people centric, but by its very foundation, the act that brought it into being and under which it is managed, it is really forceful and military like. So then they're really there to war the citizens.
Yeah, it appears that way. It appears and even how they are dressed when they are among the citizens with those weapons. I mean, that is just a little extra. It looks like
intimidation.
Yeah. And community policing is not, it doesn't seem to be a part of how they police the citizens. It's very aggressive, a very aggressive stance. And so I'm used to coming from the States that the police officers are considered servants, public servants. They work for the
Yes.
citizens of the, the county that they're in. In Jamaica, though, the police are not, they don't work for,
Pardon.
based on what you're saying, they're not
Mhm. Yes.
servants of public servants.
Yes. I laughed when you were speaking of the absence of community policing because I remembered something that is, I find very, very queer, unusual. The district constables are actually, their job, they're designated for community policing. But all the district constables are in the police stations carrying out the same operations as the regular so-called police because they're not really police, you know. There's a word for them called gendarme, which is really a military force that's carrying out police options. We call them police, but in actuality, they are not police. The way they're structured and trained, it's not policing. This is military. These are military persons carrying out policing duties. But the district constables, which constitute the rural police, they are supposed to be doing community policing. But where are they? They're not in the communities. They're in the stations.
Yes.
They're on the roads. They are just, you see them jumping out and grabbing up people, throwing them in the vans, just like the SWAT. So
Yeah.
you see them directing traffic. You see them in the courthouse. You see them doing desk jobs in the station. So where is the community contact?
Yes.
It is not. It is not. It is not. It's not a priority for our government. It's not a priority for the police, for community policing. So it is this culture of force
Yes.
that also finds itself in the schools, and it is what led to the mistreatment of Mr. and Mrs. Patterson and the three others who were arrested with them, the supporters who were pepper sprayed.
Yes.
Our police don't want to engage with us as citizens. They don't want to engage with us as human beings. They are here to lay down the law,
Yes.
and the law will be laid down with force. If you will not comply, you'll be beaten, you'll be sprayed, you'll be shot.
Wow.
That is it. That is what we're working with.
Yes. Yes.
And
it appears
this is what we learn. Yeah. So this is what we learn as a society.
I was going to ask you. I know you just kind of started talking about that, but how do you know so much about the Jamaica Constabulary first? Where were you getting this information? Where's your background?
All right. So my background is actually not in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, but for 3 years I was a member of the Special Constabulary, which is now decommissioned. I think it was decommissioned in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So I was a member for 3 years, and the training was similar, but there was more emphasis on community and support roles. So for 3 years I was a member.
So they discontinued that.
Yes, they call them Blue Steam Police. Yes.
And what was the purpose of it?
It was a reserve arm of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. So in practice, what was supposed to happen is that these you could call them adjunct police. That term wasn't used. I'm just using that now. Yeah. Who would handle the other like administrative or support roles of the JCF and leave the red seams or the regular police officers the regular job of going after the criminals and detecting crime and so forth. So you would see a special constabulary handling the courthouse, for example, or patrolling the market district. Okay. Or so, yes. Pretty largely those adjuncts. Yes.
All right, so you were part of that. That no longer exists. So where it would have created this barrier and communities policing, they got rid of that. And do you know why? There
were a number of reports, carried out some investigations into how to make the police more efficient, how to increase Jamaica's security. I'm not remember the name of the paper and the recommendation now, but so there were around 8 recommendations, and the government chose one to streamline the police force by combining the Island Special Constabulary with the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
Okay.
And based on that recommendation, the forces were joined.
Okay.
But we don't see the payoff now. The crime is still as rampant as ever, and there are reasons for that.
Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about that now, because seeing how the police engages with the community and how we engage with each other as a people, when we see our children acting out and doing the things that we're doing and we wonder why, I'm not too sure if we should be wondering why. What's going on in the schools based on your experience?
All right, so our people as a whole do not know how to engage conflict positively, and that rolls down to our children. It boils down to our children. We don't know how to, for the most part, how to discipline with love and discipline with discipline.
Yes.
We have seen many videos, for example, of mothers who are angry stepping in their children's face and all of that. We're in a violent society. Yeah. Our society is taught to use force and abuse in the schools, in the homes, in the media. This is the fear. This is what we're exposed to. So it becomes a part of our psyche.
Yes.
For us to react this way, and that is why I know you didn't ask for recommendations, but I'm just stating it there. Our solutions. The UIC education plan. The first point of our education plan looks at teaching our students how to understand human relationships, how to understand themselves and understand money. But really, understanding self looks at your emotions. Why are you reacting this way? What is it that causes you to react this way? And what is the better way to go about it? Understanding human relationships also looks at how to positively solve conflicts and achieve an end that works for the best of us. Now, this is done in other countries. Like, for example, Japan, the first 2 years of schooling is dedicated to social skills and so forth. So we could do the same to achieve a Jamaica where our children know how to solve conflicts. Our people as a whole, instead of resorting to violence, instead of resorting to abuse, they are now emotionally intelligent. They are now intellectually intelligent because we don't really know to think critically. And that's another facet of what causes these things too, because we don't know how to think critically, whether in a stressful situation or not. Once we are able to engage our minds properly, we don't need to resort to beating on each other.
Yes, true. Yes. True. So, and you're absolutely right with that. Obviously, our children are reflecting what they're seeing in and around their environments, and so they're seeing it in school. So it seems like an insurmountable challenge in terms of how do we now rein in the horse has kind of gone through the gate. How do we put him back in? How do we fix this?
The only way I see us fixing this is really electing the UIC and letting UIC governance and education plan handle it. Or as the government and the opposition like to steal our plans, if they actually steal our plans and execute properly and fully, then yes. Because really, we will not stop this. We will not with more force. You can't use force to fight force unless you're looking for an all-out war. People die on both sides, and we don't want to war our children. So combat is not, force is not the answer.
Yes.
And the few social workers that we have, they are overworked, underpaid. So
Yes.
what we need to do is bring that social plan into the curriculum so that as they are being taught, just like they're being taught HFLE, teachers are taught to become more emotionally intelligent, and they are taught how to impart this to the students so that students learn how to react and also see the reaction coming.
Okay.
Yes. So they understand why they're behaving this way. They understand that, all right, this happened. I'm going to be reacting this way. This will be the consequence because now I'm intelligent.
You can
This
think
will be the
through it.
consequence, and this is not worth it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, you are already engaged in indirectly with shaping the
Mhm.
young people in the future right now, based on some of your experience with the JDF and all that. Now, you designed something that you're currently using and have already implemented that is working
Mhm.
with you. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Your cadet program.
All right, I'm glad you raised that, um, because this is another way in which we can actually stem the violence in schools. I am a member of the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force. I've been a member of the force since 2004, and the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force is a youth program that uses military skills and community community outreach activities to develop our youth's discipline and their leadership. However, I found some flaws in the system.
Hmm.
I also was involved with Scouts, and what I did was take the best part of Scouts and the best parts of the JCCF, that's the Jamaica Combined Cadet Force, and a
Okay.
little from another cadet organization in Canada, the York Ranger Cadets, and
Okay.
I created the Ranger Cadet Combined Corps in 2012. So we have been using this program not as soldier-like as the JCCF, but there are still paramilitary skills there. But
Okay.
so we use the brotherhood from Scouts, the military side from cadets, and the various activities, and there's a creed that they seek to live to, and we use
Okay.
a lot of awards. So to bring out the full potential of young people. So we do a lot of activities such as foot drill. There is fieldcraft, learning to move and survive in the field,
Okay.
most usually the bushes. They learn navigation with maps.
Okay.
Um, they're exposed to peer counseling,
Okay.
public speaking, martial arts, first aid,
Nice.
search and rescue, a lot of activities, so
Great.
that what we have is a well-rounded person. No, this is an extracurricular activity, but what I find is that the extracurricular should be part of the curriculum, because this is where you develop this is where personal development comes in, where you actually develop the social skills of the children. You
Yes.
develop their other skills too. Children learn to speak properly. Children learn to work
Critical
with
thinking.
others. They develop their teamwork, critical thinking too, because they have
Yes.
to solve problems that they normally would
Yes.
not in the classroom. Yeah,
That's right.
so I think the government of Jamaica needs to put more emphasis on what we call extracurricular. It is often more important than the numbers game, as I call it. Um,
Yes.
I used to be a teacher in the public sector, and to me, it is meaningless when our
Mm.
children pass high school and they still don't know how to engage in life. All
Yeah.
they have is a bag of subjects, and
Yes.
they are still underemployed.
Yes.
They don't know how to engage with the work world because they have not been a part of any of these school programs.
Right. That's correct.
Those who are part of, yeah,
So you were saying, you know, when I asked what the solution was, you actually have the solution. You're actually implementing it.
Yes.
And as a whole, you're saying that once elected into office, the UIC would implement things that would make young people more rounded, not just be focused on the academic, and not just academic, but academics that is actually relevant in today's work world, not just memorizing information to pass an exam
Exactly.
based on some outdated, you know, methodology, but actually implementing something that can prepare young people for the future and for Jamaica's future. So you actually,
Yes.
all the skills that you mentioned, this is how we need it. We actually do it through these extracurricular youth programs that are in place where they have an opportunity to engage with each other, engage with the community through community service and different types of activities. That's how these skills are built. So you're
Yes.
already doing
That's
that right
true.
now. You're doing that in currently no in St. Mary is what your where your cadet program is currently running.
Yes, for the most part in St. Mary and a little, there's one unit in Portland also, but most of our activities are concentrated in St. Mary.
Okay, all
Yes.
right. Now I want to ask a little bit about. I had wanted to share all that information about you because I thought it was important to talk about who you are as a person and as a
Mhm.
Jamaican citizen, as a father, as a husband, because
Mhm.
people, when you jump into the political arena, people automatically
Mhm.
start to label you a politician. And I wanted to create a distinction between you and Samuda. You
Yes.
you're the JLP candidate. I think it is important that your young people realize that there are heroes walking among us today. The heroes that we have, you know, for our Jamaican heroes, that wasn't the end of heroes. Heroes have a certain look. They do things differently than the regular person, right? So we
Mhm.
don't have a S, they don't have an S on their chest and they don't fly around with a cape. But it's important for our young people and our Jamaicans to know what a hero looks like. When you hear the story of what
True.
Mr. Patterson did and Mrs. Patterson did, and even the conversation before he stepped out, because you know what you're going to encounter. You have to prepare yourself for that. The other people who actually also went out to march had to prepare themselves emotionally to encounter something they didn't know how it was going to all kind of play out, but they were willing to stand up and fight for something that they believed in. That seems to be
Yes.
you mentioned that you're pretty busy right now. You even, you know, had to move around to get this. You're not a politician. Why are you involved with the UIC and doing all this extra stuff when you're so busy? You're working, you have a youth program, your husband, how and why are you making it so important? Why?
I wanted to let I hit politics too, you know. I actually don't like politics, but here's the thing. If we are going to improve our lives, there is no other means that we're going to do so unless it's through politics. So
Mhm.
you hinted that yes, I work as a teacher. I'm a private teacher by day. In the evening, I'm a watchman, and at night I study because I'm studying for my doctorate in naturopathic medicine and
Wow.
one also in metaphysical science. So yeah, so but I have to make time because I love my country. Now, since I was in grade 9, my teacher at the time, my civics teacher, Mr. Martin Murphy, taught us about the how government is made up. And some things from then didn't make sense to me at all, at all, at all. I couldn't understand why the embodiment of Jamaica, the representation of the people, the head of state, at the time was Queen Elizabeth. It still makes no sense that this King Charles.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like to be Jamaican. They don't have the Jamaican experience. They have not been through. In fact, they have been the cause of many of our sufferings. They cannot represent us. I could not understand also how Jamaicans saw it as valid that the Prime Minister and the leader for the opposition was the one. Were the ones who the Constitution says they nominate, but it's them appoint the senators because it's not like the Governor General can say no.
Mm.
These men suggest these persons, or these persons suggest these persons as senators, and the Governor General has to sign it into law. It's not like he can say no. So I thought that our system needs to be revamped. There are other things too, where ministers can just touch our tax dollars and do with it whatever they will and not consult the people. When I saw that Switzerland has a direct democracy where the people have a say in how their money is spent, and I said, "What's something wrong with Jamaica?" So, but I did not want to. I did not want to enter partisan politics because even this partisan politics thing made no sense to me. I could not see why do we need parties that divide people against each other. Why? Why? When you want to become a teacher or a nurse or so, you don't need to join a party.
Yeah.
To go in a profession, and politics is a profession.
Yes.
So because of my dislike of the partisan politics and its conflicting nature, I decided that I would just do my best as otherwise and see how I could help others. So I started through the Candidate Force, also through churches and other avenues. No, it was because of my father that I actually decided to take up a leadership position in the UIC because I saw it and I liked it and I decided I would support the UIC. I did not want to go up front because I really don't like being at front page. I like being behind the scenes. That's ironical.
And you're the candidate for now.
Yeah, so I actually prefer being behind the scenes. Even when I'm on parade, as soon as I'm finished, I'm gone. I'm not. When I'm preaching, as soon as I finish, I'm in the office. But anyway, Daddy, I showed Daddy the UIC because there was some recommendation on YouTube, and they were talking about it was the then VP for Middlesex. Oh, I'm in the seat now.
Yes. Okay.
When VP for Middlesex was looking at how the UIC's model of governance is different, I said, well, this is what I'm looking for. But still, I was not willing to come up front and represent, so I showed my father. Now, my father was a PNP supporter, but he himself did not like the partisan system. So a long time ago, when I was a child, he was earmarked to be the counselor for Islington Division in Central St. Mary. But he was planning to give resources to both JLP and PNP, and they never want him. They never want that. They did not like that. You must look out for the comrades, and he stepped away. So when he saw what UIC stood for, he said, yes, he would represent that. But then it was during the time of the pandemic, it was 2021, he got sick with COVID-19 and asked me to hold the seat and apply until he got better. Yes, but he passed away September 12th. And so I continue in his stead because I was hoping for him to get better quickly so I can just take this thing from him. But he passed on. Yes. So that is why you see me here being instead of in a support role up front.
Okay. I think a lot of people have similar concern. So when we talk about bravery and heroes, the absence of fear doesn't, you need fear in order to demonstrate courage. You need fear in order to
Yes.
demonstrate courage. You have to overcome
Yes.
the fear of, I don't want to be up front, I don't want to speak publicly, I don't want to do any of this. Really, I would rather work in the background. But you have stepped forward, just like all the others who have stepped out to advocate for their human rights during the COVID time, and those who have come on board with the UIC since then. It's not, you aren't politicians. There are many regular Jamaicans who are just wanting to see a different country, and they're willing to step outside of their comfort zone in order to do that. And that seems to be what you're doing. And therefore you don't fit in the category of a politician. You fit more in the category of a hero. At least we want our young people.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So you're now a candidate for Northeast St. And
Yes.
you want to know, distinguish yourself separately from Mr. Samuda and the other candidates. How are you different from those other two, and why? Just tell me first of all, how are you different, a different candidate, and why would you be the candidate for Northeast?
Well, I am not sure as to my characteristics, how different I am from the other two gentlemen, because I know next to nothing about them. I just know their names and what platform they're running on. But as it relates to my candidacy as a UIC candidate, what separates me from Mr. Samuda, first of all, is that my movement, the UIC, is not owned by the enemies of the people. So I state it like that because the JLP and PNP, both colonial parties, are really owned by the private sector. They are dictated to by external colonizers such as the WHO. So when we elect these people, we're electing people who cannot really talk on our behalf as we hope that they can, as we hope that they should be doing. We are electing people who really cannot, even if they wanted to, enact the real development and progress for Jamaica. No, the UIC, by contrast, is owned by the people, is funded by the people. If the people don't get involved, we're not going anywhere. When the people work and get me elected as a candidate, then PSOJ can't tell me anything, because even if I resist and they decide not to give me funding, they will not give me funding in the first place.
Right.
So the fact that I am a UIC candidate means I am not controlled by these external persons. I'm not controlled by internal nor external colonizers who want to reap our wealth and destroy our sovereignty. Now, as a UIC candidate, I also stand for personal sovereignty and responsibility. I stand for your right to your life, to do with it as you will, so long as you don't try to infringe on anybody else's rights through force or fraud. I stand for your right to your property, whatever your property is, whether it is your land, whether it is your home, whether it is yourself, your physical self. You have a right to it that nobody else does. So unlike the other candidate, I cannot be part and parcel of a plan or move to tell you what to do with your own body, as we saw back in the 2020 to 2022 era. So I am part of a movement, and I propose and support your right to your liberty. So that differentiates me. Also, I am not a person who you will see just because election time. I've been on the ground. Whether I'm involved in politics or not, and I will continue to be on the ground. So the people will see me whether it is election time or not, because I am intimately involved in the activities on the ground. Now, I intend to to bring the same activities that I'm doing in St. Mary as it relates to youth engagement. Now, because I'm commissioner does not mean you won't see me, and that's very unusual with me because I'm a commissioned officer, and my rank is equal to a brigadier for those who even know what that means, or a rear admiral. You don't see these people on the ground, but I am there on the ground in every unit helping. So that is the same thing that will happen in Northeast St. Anne. So I'm in contact now with some schools and trying to get some youth clubs so we can enact this program, whether they may let me or not.
Yes, yes.
So even if they choose not to vote for me, I'm still there.
Yes.
So
So you're
so
saying,
that
so you're saying that you're now actively working to expand the cadet program that you currently have in St. Mary in Northeast St. Anne, so that you can
yes,
continue to, mold and shape the young people with the skills that they're going to need for the future Jamaica.
exactly.
And you have made that. So when you said that as a commissioned officer, if a group, a church group, a school group, an after school program wanted to engage and bring your cadet program into their space, what would they need to do?
They would need someone in the organization or the institution who's willing to supervise the children. And well, the young people, because we cater to those who are past the age of childhood. Um,
Okay.
we need somebody who is dedicated to, supervising at least, to being there, ensuring that they're safe, that the activities go on as planned. What we would prefer, though, and what is more effective for them, is if there would be adults who are willing to be trained as officers and not just supervised, because no, they would not need as much support from the Corps as would be obtained if they're just mere supervisors. Um, what we find though is that people are not so much willing to volunteer, but for those who would volunteer as officers, we teach them how to run the program. They run the program, and then at intervals, we have persons coming in to check that everything is running okay. If there is any top-up training to be done, we do that. But for those who have just supervisors, then we have to send adults from Corps Command or from any nearby company to go there and assist with training while they are supervising. But at minimum, we need two persons who would be willing to at least supervise, preferably trained as officers.
No, what age group do you target? You mentioned from children. What age group works within the cadet program?
Or if we cater to 8 to 24.
8 to 24.
From ages 8 to 24, yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, you also mentioned that, or at least that not mentioned, but I know that your involvement with UIC, beyond just the candidate, is that you're the education spokesperson for the
yes.
And if, for example, there are educators or other members of the community who would like to become a part of this, any of the projects or anything that they'd like to be involved with the UIC, how would they do that? How would they get involved?
Well, they'll have to go to the website first, uicjamaica.com, and sign up, whether as a volunteer or a supporter or a member. And the system would identify them. Even if they reach out to me, they still would have to sign up at UIC. But if you're asking if they want to be informally involved and not normally register, then they would reach out to the UIC number, 293-0812, and then
what's that number again?
All right, it just 283-0812.
Okay.
Yes, or the my UIC Jamaica at gmail.com, and they would be responded to and put in contact with me.
Okay, perfect.
So, yes.
And the reason I'm asking that is because I really want to make a clear distinction between, I've heard the word politician so much, and I sent a message in a group yesterday, and the person sent something back, and they said about, all you politicians are all alike. It was just, so I realized that people are frustrated, especially at this time when, we see what's happening with the prime minister and the current investigation that's going on. So there's a lot of distrust among people who are supposed to represent the people. And so instead of seeing your cape and Mr. Patterson's cape and all the other heroes that are out there and sheroes that are out there advocating on their behalf, they see everybody as a politician, and then no one does anything. Everybody kind of sits back and they're just like, I don't want to be involved. So you have over 70% of the Jamaican population is not involved in politics. They're not voting. They've just kind of exited from the system, and it is contributing to what we're seeing now. Because when you're not involved,
Yes.
then there's no change that's going to happen. What message would you send to people who are on the sidelines, not wanting to vote for a politician, but there's an election coming up where there's need for representation for the people next Monday when they're having that election? What would you say to the 70% of people who are kind of sitting on the sidelines and are saying, listen, I don't trust anybody, I don't trust any politicians, and I don't trust you. Why would they and should they vote for you and the UIC?
All right. All right. Before I do that, I just want to correct an error. The UIC phone number is 293, not 283. 293-0812. All right. What I would first say to those people who have no faith, rightfully so, I would agree with them because I don't trust politicians either. Ironic, because I am by definition a politician. I engage in politics. I'd agree with them. I don't trust politics either. But I would also draw their attention to the fact that if we do nothing, nothing will change. But
Yes.
what we know as a fact is that since 1944, we have been voting JLP, PNP. And JLP and PNP are controlled oppositions. They are, whatever difference they have is engineered and given to us to present as one side versus, but it's really two sides of one coin. So we are aware and we have lived through what happens when we vote for that one party with two faces.
Right.
And so we know for sure that what we will have is bad roads, bad education, poor water access, poor joblessness, because people who leave school are not ready to join the job world. We see the crime. We see no access of the regular Jamaican to services that should make them feel like decent human beings.
Yes.
This is what you get. You know you're going to get that if you vote for JLP or PNP. Every election season, there are promises.
Yeah.
And yet, this is what we have. But there's an unknown factor. What are we going to do? Sit down and say, wonder if, or are we going to try something new, something that we have control over, because we have no control over JLP or PNP. But if we, the people, choose the persons who will go to represent us through this platform, because what UIC is a platform for us to be engaged.
Yes.
So we are presenting a platform for you now who don't like the system, because we don't like it either. That's why we present it. For us to come on board and work together to put in a system that works for us. So what I would present now is this chance for us to make a difference.
Yeah.
Now, to be truthful, if I'm elected as MP of Northeast St. Ann constituency, it will be the sheep among the wolves. one sheep amongst 61 wolves. So I can only make noise and advocate on behalf of the people so that they can help me to find other MPs for the other constituencies across Jamaica so that
Yes.
now we can make a true difference for everybody. But they need to let me in so that we
Yes.
can pave the way for the others to create the Jamaica that we need.
True. Very well said.
And
Well
that
said.
is convincing enough.
Good.
Because we do need to act.
And that's more or less one of the reasons I got involved as well. I am accustomed to, at least in the States, being able to pick up my phone and either call my senator's office or send an email, and at least somebody's going to respond to me in some way. In Jamaica, when I've tried to engage in the political process, there is no response. There is no inroads to communicate and let your elected officials know that there is an issue in the community that we need to have addressed, and so that there is this exchange of dialogue and communication between the people and their representatives. In Jamaica, there doesn't seem to be a way in which to dialogue with the representatives. So they're just making decisions based on what they feel and not getting input from the people. Now, through the UIC, have an opportunity to actually engage, and they probably won't even know what to do because no one is accustomed to doing this. We're used to just elect them and then leave them in office, and that's it. When we're talking about self-governance, we have to be a part of the system. We have to get
Exactly.
involved, volunteer, put ourselves out there, whether we feel comfortable or not, become the heroes of tomorrow, potentially getting arrested like Mr. Patterson and Mrs., going through the act of a true representative of the people, not just in talk, but in action. And so I commend you for actually stepping out, and all the others really for stepping outside of your comfort zone to do this on behalf of the Jamaican people, and in this case, on behalf of the citizens of Northeast St. So, once again, thank you for that. In conclusion, what support do you now need to be able to get into office? Well, how can we support you to get elected next Monday? What do we, the people, do?
All right. So the people, and I want to really state the facts. I'm somebody who states facts raw, but everybody appreciates it. But I'm a politician now, so maybe I have to be. Yeah. All right. So what I need, is support in the form of funding. We need funding. The UIC will only do it through funding. For me now to reach to St. Anne in a meaningful way by myself, it's around $20,000 just to interact with the people for a day, for around 3 hours for the day.
Yeah.
So we're looking at cost, and this is a cost that if we the people if we really want to be free from the bad governance, which results in the crime rate and bad road, no water, poor market salt, then we have to contribute to it.
Yeah.
It's just like when we want salvation, we contribute to the church.
Yes.
So we when we go to church, we want to make our way into heaven. So we give our tithes and offerings. Now, if we want to create a better country for ourselves and our people, then really donations, and that can be achieved through the UIC website. Click donate. Now, I also need support in spreading the word. It's limited. Even I'm trying to get a rally off the ground now, but the St. Anne Municipal Corporation is not cooperating with me at all. I think they need to change the last part of them name, because corporation, so the corporation, which I'm not getting. But even if I do get the rally going, still it will reach just so many people. Now, sharing this live, talking to somebody, especially somebody from the constituency, will help to get the message out.
Okay.
So we do need support as it relates to that. Social media is one of the most effective ways of communication, and face to face is also one of the most effective ways of communication. So for
Okay.
all the persons here, get working on the device and let us get the message out there.
Okay.
Um, so I think those are the two things that come to mind now as it relates to support. We need to cover Northeast Centre. The media won't do it as we want them to. They're there blasting some Muda.
Yes.
I see him every day in the media.
Yeah.
uh, he needs no help in that regard. He's well funded.
Right.
Yes, and the same persons
Yes.
who own the party own the media, so you know they're working for
Yeah.
themselves.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so we need to work for our own
Our
self and get the message out there and fund the movement as much as possible so I can move for your behalf.
true. True.
That's the support that's required now.
Okay. And I'm glad that you talked about funding, and I just wanted to kind of go back to that point because typically people
Mm-hmm.
will go, "Oh, you guys are only asking for blah blah and all that." So you're breaking it down and giving an idea of, okay, what is the purpose of the funding? The purpose of the funding is, you have to move around. You would have to,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had to run my own run a campaign, and when you're self-funded, you can only fund up to how much you yourself can carry while maintaining
Yes.
and all your other responsibilities. So you're only acting on behalf of the people, and so we need to do our part to say, all right, you have a goal. Do you have a target goal of how much you would like to be able to raise to be able to move around and take care of the things that you need to take care of by September 30th?
To tell the truth, I was working on that today, and the number keeps changing the more I look at the different communities. So
Okay.
I will have to give a definitive sum later
Okay.
through
So
another medium because the life would have ended.
you said that in one case it was about 20,000 to actually
Yes.
just move around. So at least you'll need that for a day. So, if we were able to set a goal of 500 US at least now until you're able to actually come up with those numbers because, cost and gas and moving around and doing things.
Yes.
Those people who are actually working with you during the rally need some water, and you want to make sure that they have things as well. So these are the things that when people are saying, well, what do you need money for? Because the volunteers need to be taken care of, you need to be taken care of, things cost money. And so if we're going to kind of get this going, we want to have a goal that people can target and say, we want to shoot for 500 US or whatever that exchange rate is, and they can actually make a contribution on the UIC's website. How would they get that fund to you, and how would they direct it directly to you?
For the sake of transparency, I would prefer that everything goes through the UIC portal so it can be
Sure.
accounted for.
Of course.
I don't want anybody money in my hands and then they accuse me of anything.
No, right. What I
We
mean
know
is,
people are.
I know the UIC has a donation section where if you hit
Mhm.
donate, they can actually make a contribution, and in the notes,
Yes,
put
if they
your
make a
name on
note.
there so that they
Yeah.
know it goes specifically to your campaign.
Yes.
So that way it would be accounted for within the UIC's thing, but people can know it's going directly towards supporting your campaign for next week.
Yes. And otherwise, they can call the UIC number 293-0812 and indicate that they want to make a donation to my campaign, and they'll be guided
Okay,
as to how to do that.
beautiful, great.
Yes.
We want to create as much opportunity for people to get involved as possible, because I know we're not accustomed to doing it, and I know people are, usually reluctant to get involved, but UIC is creating an avenue where the regular Jamaican can actually get involved in their own self-governance, something they've never had an opportunity to do before, and they don't know
True.
how to do that. So one of the ways in which they can actually do that right now is to support the UIC candidate for Northeast St. Anne next week. But leading up to that point, you can jump online, volunteer to help get the word out, make a contribution to your
Yes.
UIC, and just share this information and get everyone out there remembering that if we're going to see the kind of Jamaica that we want to see, and that has been laid out in the UIC's manifesto, which people can also access on the website, uicjamaica.com. They'll have an opportunity to have a different Jamaica, one that provides for us a space where young people can thrive and grow and engage in a civil manner, and not have to engage with our authorities the way we see the police treating our people, and how we see now our children treating each other in the schools. You are the first representative to be able to be in the position to represent UIC and the people. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to get involved, encourage them to support you and your campaign. And how to do that, we've explained on the website. Are there any final words that you'd like to share with the Northeast and to the citizens of that area?
Yes, I'd like to say that what has been happening for the past 70 years, whether they know it or not, is that those persons who seek to destroy our progress, and we identify them as the funders and owners of the two parties, or the one system that shows itself as two parties. They have bought us out. They have created a system of poverty in Jamaica, so that we're dependent on them. It is they who have caused our currency to inflate out of control, so that our spending power is robbed.
Yeah.
They have been robbing directly our dollars, so that there is never enough to give to development of the services, our hospitals, our schools, our roads, and so forth. Now, every time you look and you see poverty around you, it is these persons who have been controlling these parties that has caused that. Poverty is a political tool. Now, what they have done is create this system so that at each election campaign period, they can give you $3,000, $5,000, and $20,000, so that you can vote them in and play a part in your own slavery and subjugation. No, and then you think you win. You win by destroying yourself. And that is just the truth. If you vote for the JLPNP, I call them as one because that is what they are.
Yeah.
If you vote that way, I passed through Sentence Bay, and it is the capital of Senton, and you want to see the number of houses run down, and it's the people live there.
Wow.
Right on the path down to the electoral office too. So run down places where people working and living, and so this is the capital.
Wow.
This is the capital. You should not have this stark poverty look like
Wow.
dog and cat supposed to live there, and people are living there. No. The only way you win now, the only way you win is if you actually take part in the process to elect someone who represents your best interest. I'm not just talking about going out and vote for me now. We have to work for it. So this is not the system where them do everything for you, and then all you do is dip your hand in paper and just hold out here and receive money. That's not a system that is designed for you. The system designed to keep you trapped in dependency and slavery.
Yes.
For you to have a system of governance that works for you, you have to work. So that means that you have to be involved and not just go on the day to vote, but you have to spread the word. You have to get in contact and reach out to us. Can you find 10 or more persons in an area for us to go around and talk to the people? Then reach out to me through the website or through email, myuicjamaica@gmail.com, and we'll get there. Get a team together and I'll be there so we can go around and tell the people what this news is about. You have to spread the word through social media. You have to donate, just as I am donating, so that we can get this done and work to create something that works for us, or sit down and continue to get mashed up by the system that don't like you in the first place.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, it's really a consequence, and even now with the shadow of disappointment, a question of integrity that is now overshadowing the Jamaica Labour Party, not just the Prime Minister himself, but the entire party, because funds looks like it had been passed through the party as well, to have a candidate who represents, or who the leader is under investigation for potentially misappropriating funds that should have gone into the regions and enriched the people. They've enriched themselves. How do we know Samuda is not going to continue this practice? Why would people, and people will probably still vote for him, why would they still vote for him in spite of this?
I know what I know. Even if Mr. Samuda himself is not misappropriate or thieving the people's money, he is part of a system that continues to do that. We know that.
Yeah.
So if we vote for Mr. Samuda, we are promoting this.
Yes.
No, everybody have access to Google. If you can watch this, you can go on Google and just type, how much money does Jamaica lose to political corruption every year? You will see statistics going back to the 60s that Jamaica has been losing between 700 million to 1 billion US dollars every year through political corruption.
Wow.
But what that says to you is that both sides have been doing this.
Yeah.
So this latest thing about the Prime Minister now is just no one get catch.
Yeah.
What was going on before he got caught.
Yes.
It will happen unless we do something about it, and that's just the truth.
True. And you're right. I mean, it's up to us to right now, when we consider the idea of, the two options. Although, I mean, I really think Jamaican people are very disappointed, and they're looking for something new. They're looking for a different option. They have to realize that option is not going to come easily. It doesn't come with just kind of sitting on along the wayside, and then, well, go ahead, Mr. Lee, you go ahead and make it happen for us. They have to be a part of this. They have to get up, get out, do something. And that's what you're asking that they do right now. And that's the opportunity, actually, that they have to get involved in their own governance.
Paul Bogle didn't march by himself. Paul Bogle marched with the people who wanted to be free. Sam Sharp didn't do it by himself. Marcus Garvey never did it by himself. Marcus Garvey made a movement that rocked the world over. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X,
yes,
pattern Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
We have the Rwanda patterning Marcus Garvey. The African Union, in words only, because they're not really serious, but they're patterning somewhat Marcus Garvey. Yes. He did not do it by himself. He got the people to be on board. No, what Jamaicans were tired, for the most part, of the system, are hoping for a miracle and a dream, because they want a system, they want a new way of governance, they want a better Jamaica, they want a better self. And I want people to look at a better governance as being better self, because what we choose as our government model is going to affect the food we eat, the jobs we have, how much money is available for us to be paid in our jobs, the healthcare, the roads, even the way you worship. Look at during COVID-19 time, we couldn't go to church. Every aspect of your life is affected by the way you're governed. So you must make a decision. For you, I can't lose. And I tell you this, I cannot lose in this election, because if you don't vote for me, I go about my business. I'm going back to doing what I'm doing to impact the youth. And if Jamaica get too bad, I fly out, left it, and left Uno in it. If you can leave, you leave too. But the thing is, I can't lose. But we can win if we do what is necessary to enact this new method of governance that will ensure checks and balances in Parliament, in Congress for the Jamaican people. So the thing is, no, it cannot be something that just drop in your lap. We are used to getting handouts because I remember I was reading something that said Mandalay and Bustamante wanted to be patriarchs of the nation. So like a father giving to the people. No. It don't work so no. We grow up now. If we are going to get a governance model that works for us, we will have to work for it because nobody will give it to you because the system that is at work right now that is causing the crime, the scamming, the youth them desperate and lazy. The laziness comes from us being taught to sit down and wait for somebody to do it for us.
True.
The laziness comes from an education system that fails to give us the ability to create solutions and think for our own.
Yes.
No. What are we going to do about it? Sit down and continue to pray? Even God telling in the Bible, faith without works is dead. So we can hope for something, but unless we get involved and do, nothing is going to change. So if we are going to elect the UIC governance, if we are going to turn the tables around on this and show our disdain and contempt for the system that calls itself JLP and PNP, but is really one thing, then we must work for it. We must spread the word. We must donate so that our donation create the way for us to get into governance. There's no way around it. And we can't look for a solution if we're not going to be part of the solution. Let's sit down and shut up then.
And you made a point. I want to kind of wrap it up. A point that I wanted to touch on again, where it's not, Jamaica isn't poor. Obviously,
not at all.
Money. Jamaica is wealthy with natural resources. Money is coming into Jamaica. It's just not making it down to the people, and that's the unfortunate thing. The idea, and I think that was the most disappointing thing about the whole situation, the Prime Minister. I see him going every day, giving out these little homes to these people and whatever, and he's enriching himself and watching women and children suffer while he enriches himself and his family, and then goes around under the guise that he's for the people. It is disheartening to see and know there are no hospitals, or children are being, babies are being born and put on a little chair at the side because they don't have the proper medical facilities. And it's not because we don't have the resources or the money. It's because it's being misappropriated and enriching those who are supposed to be representing us. So we're going to take it back. We have to take responsibility. I see Mr. Patterson on there. Thank you for jumping on, Mr. Patterson, and you're making your comments on this. I've mentioned the word hero so many times, and after hearing what he had to endure yesterday was another reminder of just how much work is required to ensure our freedom. He took and put himself in harm's way along with all the other martyrs to make sure that our freedoms would be protected. It's time for us to step up and do our part so that this movement has movement, and that the Jamaica that we want for our future is something that we can guarantee because we're doing it. We're not waiting for someone else to do it, but we're stepping out of our comfort zone to go ahead and do something for the future, for your young people to be able to thrive in this very wealthy nation. I want to thank you for coming out and sharing. Thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone and taking the front. I know it wasn't comfortable for you, but
not at all.
I know, and this is why I wanted everybody to see that you're just like all of us. We're reluctant to talk in front of the camera, but we're willing to step outside our comfort to do something we're we believe in. And so I thank you for that. I want to encourage all the Jamaicans who are in the Northeast St. Anne area and the Jamaicans around who know them. Encourage your family members and your friends in that area to support your campaign, whether through volunteering through the UIC or by making a contribution to your campaign as well. Thanks again for your service. Not only stepping out here, but what you're doing for the youth of this nation. And anyone else also, if you wanted to get a cadet program in your community, definitely reach out through the UIC and they can get that cadet in their church or community as well. Right?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right. I just wanted to restate something I see Mr. Patterson said in the chat.
Sure.
He said, we have voted against ourselves for 80 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have. And it is time to move on from the two colonial parties.
Yes, it is.
I call them one and the same because that is what they are. If they're owned by one entity, then it's the same thing.
Yep.
The UIC is indeed a platform for new leadership.
Yes.
It's a platform for you to get on board. I am just the face of Northeast St. Anne candidacy now. Yes. Next time it could be you.
Yes.
It could be anybody. I am not here as a career politician sitting on a seat and sit down and get rich off the people. This is a platform. I'm paving the way for other members of St. Anne to get on board and represent the people, funded by and supported by the people, not by the old thief them. Yes. So yes, this is indeed a platform for new leadership and a new system. If you want to see what the system looks like, if this is your first time, I encourage you to go to uicjamaica.com and click our manifesto. That last point after the 30th item on the manifesto looks at how our new governance will look at. And UIC Liberty TV speaks on it often on YouTube. You can check out the videos. But this is the way for us to move forward. First time we have this, people.
That's true.
First time we have a platform where we can all get involved. We don't need a lot of money.
Yes.
I don't have any. We don't need a lot of intelligence, as some people would call it. Right. We just need to want better, and we will act for better. So get on board, get others on board, and let us win this for us. We're not winning for we're not even winning it for the UIC. We're winning it for ourselves, individual. We.
Be selfish.
Exactly.
Great ending words. Thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for coming out and sharing about who you are and why you are so passionate about the UIC and wanting the ability to govern yourself, and you've stepped out to do that. Thanks again for your time. And,
it was a pleasure.
Same as well. Take care now. Bye, everyone. Thank you for
joining. Take care, everybody. One Jamaica, stronger together.